Well, hello and welcome to Channels, the Nextflow podcast. I'm Geraldine, lead developer advocate at Auwera, and today I'm joined by my colleague Marcel, also a developer advocate, who has been running our Nextflow Ambassador Program, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Marcel, welcome back to the podcast.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Geraldine. It's great to be here. I'm Marcel, talking from Brazil. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. Let's go.
Yes. Excellent. And I'm in I'm in Boston, Massachusetts in the US, where we are going to be holding the Boston Summit, the next Nextflow Summit, in just a few weeks. Week of May 21st, I want to say. Oh, excellent. Yeah. For those of you just listening, Marcel just triggered confetti, I guess.
Yeah.
Love AI. All right. Yes, and just one more week, I think, to register.
Yeah, for registration.
Yeah. So
for people who have never been to these events, I mean, the summit is amazing. I've been to a lot of events, and the energy is just different. And the great thing is, like, all these years we've been only having the summit in Europe. And now we are starting this trend of having also in the US, in Boston. I think it's a priceless opportunity. Everyone should go. It's going to be very, very nice.
Yeah, it's definitely a very vibrant atmosphere, a great way to meet people who are also working with the Nextflow, learn kind of the latest and greatest of what you can do with the tools. So yeah, we're hoping to see many of you there. Again, just 1 week left to register if you haven't done so yet. Okay. So with that, let's talk about the Ambassador Program. So the Ambassador Program, Marcel, you've been running that for about 6 months, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so you have 2 babies. You have 1 human baby, and you have the Nextflow ambassadors. So
yeah. I mean, it's almost the same thing because thanks to Phil, my baby got a baby suit written Nextflow ambassador. So I have 2 Nextflow ambassador programs: one at home, one at work.
That's perfect. Our youngest ambassador yet. And that happens. The launch of the Ambassador Program happened at the Nextflow. Speaking of summits, that was the Nextflow Summit in Barcelona in October of last year, and that was the week I joined. So it was very nice for me. I just walked in, and you guys had already set all of that up and we're ready to launch.
Free t-shirts and everything else.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I just walked in and be like, oh yes, of course my team is doing this. It's great. So can you tell me a little bit more, since I wasn't around for that part, can you tell me a little bit more about the history of the program, kind of where the idea came from and how you developed that?
Yeah, so for people like following different open source projects, it's very common that you have an ambassador program. Most of the time, you're trying to find people to help you grow the community or to support you in your advocate activities and so on. For Nextflow, I felt it was slightly different. Like, I've been an ambassador for Fedora in other projects also, but when I joined Auwera about 2 years ago and I saw the community, it was a whole different level. We already had a lot of people that were like working daily to make Nextflow better in the ecosystem, right? And of course, project and it's like sub communities and different tools and pipelines and modules and some workflows and all these things. So when we were growing the growth team, we got to this point where, okay, so we have these people doing this amazing work, these great people doing amazing work. How can we help them keep doing the great work they're doing? So it wasn't about making people do stuff. It was like, oh my God, they're doing amazing stuff. How can we help them keep doing that? And how can we help them go beyond that? Funding, support, guidance, assets, how we can help them. So the program started around this idea that we have to support these people. And it's very funny because when I joined Auwera, we had this retreat. And between the meetings, we are having like a coffee or something. And Evan, which is the CEO of Auwera, he was, hey, Marcel, come here, and Phil and Chris, and how can we help these guys doing this amazing thing for the community? And it gave me a very nice impression because I had joined Auwera just a few months before. I was in the community team, so it was my job to defend the community in all this. And to hear this from the CEO of the company made me feel like, okay, we have support from the company to keep doing this great work, which is to help people keep doing the great work they're doing, right? So the Ambassador Program emerged around this idea. But of course, we also want to find new people to be ambassadors and convince more people to be with us in the community, right? But I think the sparkle was, we have great people doing amazing things. How can we support them and help them go beyond?
Yeah, and I think, and just to kind of piggyback on one thing you said about, coffee with Evan, and talking about community, and how do you expand those kinds of activities. It's funny because I just got off a call with Evan half an hour ago, and we were talking about community development and what can we do to take the next step to really help people just get their work done, but also find the kind of engagement and interaction and support networks around them, right? Because it's not just about downloading a package and using it all by yourself in your dark basement. if you're in a bioinformatician, you're often in the basement, unfortunately, in academic environments. But like to get people out of isolation and connected. And I think the ambassador program is really a nice example of how you can do that, because ambassadors are basically people who are out there in their community. They're teaching workshops, they're giving talks, they're providing help to people who are just starting out. And I think that's a great way to kind of lay the groundwork for a community that's not just a user base. It's not just a bunch of people using the same software package, but they're actually interacting and helping each other grow. And for having seen the kind of engagement and interaction in hackathons, for example, and in some of the recent workshops we did, it always impresses me how much of how important it is to have those human connections and to have people meet peers in their own environment, in their own local community, who are also kind of struggling with the same problems and also aiming towards the same goals. And then you find people who are actually, they had ideas for pipelines that are kind of convergent, that are tackling the same topics, and then they start collaborating, they work together, and you see so many collaborations sparked, and it just, it's amazing to see that effect, because it has really a potentiating effect on the kind of science that people can do at the end of the day. So they're more productive and they're happier doing it, which is a big part of our job as advocates, is making that stuff happen, which is really cool. Anyway, sorry, complete tangent. I get happy about that stuff. But tell us more about the program in its current form, its current status. How many people do we have enrolled?
So we have almost 50 people now, 50 ambassadors scattered around the world. We managed to get, I wouldn't say an ideal coverage, but we have people in all the continents, in different countries. We had, for example, in the previous hackathon, we had this local sites, right, for attending the hackathon. And I think 10 different sites were hosted by ambassadors in different countries. We had countries with different locations. I think it was Germany. We had 2 or 3 locations. A few of them, at least one was by an ambassador. We had the training that was streamed right before the hackathon. And we had a local site for attending the training, giving support, also by Nextflow ambassadors. So the coverage is very nice. The number, I think, is probably the number that we will try to be around, which is 50 people. And it's going very well. I think we are learning on the fly. Like, we wanted to launch the program, and on purpose, we didn't want to have everything ready. So we have the ambassador handbook, for example. And the first thing we did was to have a draft, of course, but then sit with the ambassador and, okay, what do you think about it? So we want to build the program with them, because it's for them in the end. And they are learning a lot on this first batch, which is this first semester. We are learning a lot, and we expect to have a more solid program for the next batch, but never stop evolving, because maybe the needs are going to change, the profile of the ambassadors are going to change. So we want to keep evolving with them, with their needs, with their ideas. We have, for example, a set of activities we want to stimulate them to do. But the last one is, if you think of something else you want to do, just share with us, and it's going to be fine. So that's the current shape. We have people attending events, organizing trainings and hackathons, and writing blog posts and Twitter threads, and writing pipelines and modules. And it's a very diverse set of activities we have our ambassadors working on right now.
That's really great, and I like the philosophy of building it with them. That it's not just some corporate program that you enter and then you're a cog in the machine. It's really, because these are all volunteers who are just internally motivated, right? And you want to nurture that and empower them, but without constraints. So yeah, I think that's really wonderful. What would you say? are the kind of the highlights of what the ambassadors have been doing so far? Do you have any favorites?
I think like it's very nice that I've been talking with mostly all of them on a daily basis, and they're all doing great work, great ideas. It's nice to see how they are managing their work life, for example, in parallel with that, and sometimes merging that. It's all very nice. But here and there are some things that really make us like our eyes shine, right? And there's this particular blog post, for example, by Annabella Tejila from Argentina, basically sharing her journey. And I had the pleasure to be watching part of this journey, right? And it's amazing to see how it evolved and the impression she gets from the community, what she thinks about the community, about the programs we had, and so on. So I met Annabella in the mentorship program. She was working in a startup with Nextflow, converting a pipeline to Nextflow, if I remember correctly. So she joined the mentorship program. She was learning more about Nextflow. Very soon she contributed a module. She was mentored by, from Belgium, not Nicholas, Matthias Desmat. Yeah, so Matthias was her mentor, did a great job. Very soon she had a module. She had a recipe in Bioconda. So it was great, all the work she did. Then she kept working with Nextflow with a whole other level of expertise, right? And all these things from learning Nextflow, being a mentee, and creating modern pipelines. And recently she was hired by ZS to work in bioinformatics, specifically with Nextflow, still in Argentina, showing how the reach of not only bioinformatics, but Nextflow and everything, it's everywhere, right? So she hosted the hackathon site last time there. So I think this is a highlight because not only the ambassador program, of course, she's an ambassador now, but not only the ambassador program, but to see that we had this person from, I'm in Brazil, so I'm close to her, but most people are in Europe. And we had this person in Argentina who got benefited from different initiatives that we have. And now she's really happy, doing amazing work. It's very nice to see how these things interact, So I would say this is a highlight for the program.
And I think another highlight, if I can interrupt you, I think it's very, very rewarding to see that when you see somebody who's in kind of an early career stage and who the mentorship program is fantastic too. That's a whole other can of worms. You see somebody who is in an early stage and who develops their career, and along the ways there's things that we can do to help them develop their skills in a way that are very helpful for their career development, and they also build a network as they go. I think that's fantastic. That's one of the aspects of the program that I find personally most interesting and kind of heartwarming. Just seeing people evolve, and it's very cool. Anyway, sorry. What were you going to say? A second?
Yeah, I think another highlight, like we have lots of virtual contributions, like blog posts and the hackathons, mostly online, right? But I think another highlight is the physical presence, right, all over the world. So, for example, we know there's a community in Asia, like in China, in Japan. I've interacted with some of them on Twitter, for example, but we've had some difficulty to connect to these people, to bring them to the community and so on. But very soon, Sofia Stemuli, I think that's how I pronounce her last name is pronounced. She's from Sweden. She's living in Sweden, and she's going to be a visiting researcher in Japan for a while. So she's ambassador. She's already contact with some people there, and I think we're gonna get some benefit from this visit there. Annabelle again in Argentina. She went to Chile for a conference. Abhinav, who's been doing a great work in South Africa, in Africa in general, but was in Brazil. He's in Brazil right now, and he's been traveling to places I haven't been yet. So traveling around, talking about Nextflow. Of course, we live in this very connected world, and you can talk to anyone virtually. But I think it's a whole different level when someone goes in person and gives you a talk and gives you some quality time answering questions, discussing some interesting points. So I think another highlight of this program is that we can't be everywhere in person, but with the ambassador program, we can try, right? And I think James was in Australia. He's going to go to Mexico. So I think this in person is another highlight of the program.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the things that makes it really sustainable, because I've been part of outreach efforts in the past that were very focused on, like, our team traveled to various places, but it's hard to scale that because there's ultimately much more demand than there are days in the year for us to go and travel and deliver trainings and talks and stuff like that. And I love the idea of the ambassadors as kind of this extension of the community team, just going out there, because it's true, there's something about the in-person experience that is just very difficult to fully replace. And so having people be able to go out there and help represent and so on, I think that's fantastic. Yeah.
And I think another highlight that I think was a very nice 1 second, those things like in 1 second you feel great, those 1 second experiences. Like in the hackathon last year in Barcelona, at some point I stood up and I looked back and you could see all these ambassador t-shirts, right? All these people that they were ambassadors, now they are wearing the t-shirt, and you could see how strategic they were helping people. Every table had one or two and talking to people and giving talks. And anyway, it was very nice that you put like a tag, like a t-shirt, and you could easily look at this multitude of people and say, oh, these are the ambassadors, and they are a lot, and they are helping people. So this was like 1 second, the I think it's In Search of Happiness, the movie.
Yeah.
Something like this, like, oh, this second is happening. And I looked around, I was like, oh my God, this is a great community.
Yeah, I think it's that moment when you visualize the impact, and sometimes it is in small ways. Like, you could think a bunch of people with the same T-shirt, but it's like, yeah, and you see they're distributed across the room and helping various people, and everybody benefits from having that dynamic. It's true, it's fantastic, and it kind of goes back to the not to get too deep or anything, but the theory of social interactions and the impact that one person can have on their local community, and that has a multiplying effect on what the community as a whole can achieve. Anyway, so I'll get very soppy if you don't stop me. So anyway, yeah, both the global reach and the visualization of that reach in the microcosm of the hackathon is a pretty cool thing to witness. So you mentioned that we have people on all continents. I don't believe we have anybody in Antarctica, do we?
Oh, not yet.
This is Antarctica erasure, Marcel. But hey, maybe there are research stations down there. Maybe we should do outreach to research stations.
Definitely, yeah.
But,
the first workflow manager to stat in Antarctica.
So we do have an open call for new ambassadors, I believe, right?
Yeah.
It's been open, and I think you mentioned to me that very nice. The link appears in the video if you're watching on the video. I think you mentioned the current call will be closing mid-June-ish, something like that.
Yes.
Okay,
and we should be replying the applications by late June. At the end of June, we should be saying like you got a spot. And the thing is, it's as I said like earlier, is a program we are learning on the fly, and managing like dozens of people is not an easy task, right? And we don't want people to join the program and feel lost because nobody is giving them support. So we can't accept everyone, right? We try to accept everyone that we think they're fit, but we can't accept everyone because it's a bunch of people we have to manage, and we want everyone to feel that they belong there and they get the support they need and funding, whatever we can offer them, right? So it's also a thing about accepting a number of people that we can provide a quality support.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So what makes a good Nextflow ambassador?
Yeah, I think outreach experience would be very nice. Like some people, they are not Nextflow experts, and that's fine. You don't have to be a Nextflow expert. Of course, during your ambassadorship, you should be able to master Nextflow to an extent that you can give trainings and help people and write about it. But you don't have to be a master black belt Nextflow developer to be an ambassador. That's not the thing. If you like to attend conferences, organize conferences, give training, write content, you're welcome to apply.
That sounds good. Maybe I should apply. Oh wait, I suppose we are ambassadors by virtue of the job we're doing. So next episode, for anyone interested in joining, I should read out that we'll have all the links in the episode description, but sikera.typeform.com/ambassadors. So it's a very short, simple form that you fill out, and then you send that to us anytime before mid-June, and then we'll get back to you. And do we? Yes. And then the idea would be to start activities with the new batch, with the new wave of ambassadors over the summer, right? And I'm kind of hoping a fair number might be able to make it to the ISMB conference in. Is it? It's in Montreal, right? It's in Montreal in July. That would be great to see a bunch of new people there. I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity to make a special plug for especially ambassadors or would-be ambassadors who are located in the US. We're very interested in kind of beefing up, expanding our presence in the US. We know we have a large user base. We know we recently finished the State of the Workflow survey. We're still going through results on that, but there's clearly a lot of people who are based in the US who are using Nextflow quite actively, and we'd love to build more community, more local community in the US. Kind of find out where people are, what they're doing, and how we can help. And so, if there's anybody, especially in the US, who is interested in the ambassador program, please do reach out, apply. We'd love to hear from you. And I'll actually go one further with the plug, is that we are actually opening a new job position on our team, the community team. As you can tell, we're very friendly. It's right now it's Marcel with the effects.
It's a friendly environment.
Marcel, Chris Hackarts, who many of you already know, and myself are the current community team, and we're going to be recruiting a new team member. We're very excited. The job opening goes live this week, so please do reach out to us if you'd like to join us in a more formal long-term capacity. All right. I think that might be all we have for this week's episode. Maybe one more plug for the Boston Summit, because that is the big exciting event. Please do join us in Boston. It'll be end of May, so the weather will be nice. It's one of the best times to come to Boston. It's either kind of May, early June, or September, October. Like the rest of the year, it's either too hot or too cold. But May, June, and then September, October, like that's the time to come to Boston. So please join us, and we hope to see you there.
Yeah, and I think a nice thing about the summit is like we're gonna have also training and a hackathon, right? And there are always activities. I mean, to interact and get to know and networking. It's great. I mean, the energy it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much fun. All right. Well, with that, Marcel, thank you so much for joining me today. And
thanks for having me.
Perfect. And then everybody else, we'll see you on the next episode of Channels, the Nextflow podcast. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.